about how many people would you say came between maybe 7 and 8?
Maybe 20, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people came this morning from 7 to 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Wow, 2,000 already.
1 or 2,000, it depends. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah,
Now, do you think that people are very excited this election?
very excited. Never see this in my life. Yeah, since I saw that, never, ever. That's wonderful. I don't know what happened tonight, but God knows. La première fois que je vais comme ça, somebody qui est très important. Nous commencé à voter depuis 96, US Citizen 94, nous faisons comme ça depuis notre voté aux États-Unis. Nous montons ici à 20 ans, nous travaillons dans l'Ordre international Airport et nous travaillons dans l'ISAT pendant 20 ans pour que je me comme ça.
Ça qui fait important pour un Haïtien sortir pour voter. Ça qui fait important pour eux-mêmes.
Parce que dans le pays haïtien qui a un problème, qui n'a pas de papier dans le pays, qui est CPF, et il y a des gens qui ont résidence pour le faire. Parce que depuis nous avons travaillé de travail dans le pays, c'est-à-dire l'élection, tout le monde qui est US citizen, nous avons considéré à voter parce que l'élection, c'est très important. Dans toutes les États, New York, Boston, Chicago, California, Florida, all 50 states, tout ça, c'est très important pour nous.
I am here with these two lovely ladies, and they are here supporting Brandy Fluker Oakley, who is actually a new candidate who won the primary.
Yep.
And I am here with her campaign manager, and you were trying to tell me a little bit more about her priorities and what she's going to do new for the district and how you all were able to win.
Yeah, so it was her first time running in the district. She was a new candidate when the primary is out today to make sure that we're still in contact with voters and making sure that we're still here for the district. And like I said, she wants to bring more resources to the district, focusing on making our education, our public education system better, investing in combating the climate crisis, and improving our transportation systems and a ton of stuff.
I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher in the city of Boston for many years. And I wanted, Brandy's a role model for our girls, for all our students, but especially our girls. And she really does understand education, and she understands how to reform it. So I really hope to work with Brandy on that.
Well, that's very exciting, very exciting. I wanted to just comment, because obviously she will be representing Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park, and Milton, that right now there is currently no public high school in Mattapan. There are charter schools, but no public high school. Would she support having a new public high school in Mattapan, do you think?
I'm not sure. I haven't talked to her about that specific issue, but I'm sure, if there is a way to get better access to better public education to any areas of her district, I'm sure she'd be supportive.
I like that question, and Brandy's been endorsed by the Boston Teachers Union.
Okay.
And I'm sure Jessica Tang would be interested in looking into that too. And I think that would be an interesting equity question.
Absolutely. Because obviously the Boston Teachers Union actually loses money from the charter school.
Want to get me started?
Well, tell me a little bit about how does that work? Because
as a special education teacher in the city of Boston, I have children. They will go to a charter school after I've tested them and written educational plans. They go to a charter school and they stay there. About till the end of October. Then they get bounced back to the public school. But the money has already gone to the charter school, so they're back in the public school with no funding. Yet, because we're the public school, we welcome all students and we educate all students.
But the money doesn't follow the student. Because in
It goes
other
right over
towns,
to the charter school, and it doesn't come back to the city.
well, that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. Because in other cities and towns in Massachusetts, the money follows the student. But in Boston, the charter schools can essentially take the money from the school.
Yep, that's my understanding. And then when they come back to the public schools, because they were there for X amount of time, the money stays at the charter school. So I think these are things we need to look into for equity. because it's the public schools that educate all children.
Absolutely.
It is not the charter schools.
I'm a big supporter of the Boston Public Schools, and thank you all very much. Now, what do you all think? Because you mentioned that she is interested in climate change as well. Is there some way to teach climate through maybe STEM curriculum or through
Absolutely.
the Boston Public Schools?
Absolutely. We're hiring some wonderful science teachers that are really studying the climate change and coming out of college and have a lot more information than, say, when I started teaching many years ago. And it's really exciting, the curriculum changes that we're starting to see and getting the students involved in it.
Now, how do people give input or see what some of the curriculum changes would be? Because there are currently, I think, 1,900 different classes taught in the schools.
It is. It's. There's no one central place. I mean, there's DESE, but I don't think that they're really keeping up with the changes that need to be made right away. But through your school's site council and parent councils, that's where you're going to see differences in the neighborhoods.
And what do you think Brandy added by being a new candidate and addressing some old issues? Because this seat was once held by Tom Finneran, who was actually the Speaker of the House. And so Brandy is basically going to be helping a lot of people that haven't seen any help in a long time, like I said, since Tom Finneran. So how do you think her being a new candidate or having a new lens actually has helped her with her background being in teaching and also the law and really being excited about this district?
Yeah, definitely. So I think as a new candidate, she brought new energy to her campaign and running for the first time. And also, like you said, her background as an educator and as an education advocate has really kind of set her apart from the field and really highlighted her as a candidate that was going to focus on making sure that the district was getting the resources it needs to educate our kids.
I think she listens to people too. She wants to hear from people. What do you need? How can I help you? What changes are important to you?
Ok, moi c'est Ernst. Et nous sortis dans la rue aujourd'hui pour nous voter parce que la communauté pas nous en danger. Et nous n'avons pas quelques monde qui gagne, principalement nous n'avons pas quelques monde qui boit ici qui gagne TPS. Et tout le monde connaît que le président qui l'a voulu voir monde ça retourner dans le pays non. Et nous connaissons Jean pays ailleurs, et sont ensemble de violents. Et nous pensons que c'est un bon jour pour tout haïtien prendre la rue, pas seulement parce que nous même citoyens, mais il y a des gens qui se font nous tout qui ont des problèmes aujourd'hui là. Si le président qui là c'est lui même qui est élu, nous pas de problème. Nous sortons dans la rue et nous votons, nous pas perdre ça nous voter. Nous tous voter démocrate. Pourquoi nous voter démocrate? Parce qu'avec démocrate là, nous pas dit que toute bagaille pour le résoudre, mais nous connaissons plus ou moins mon TPS yo, nous demander pour ba mon papier. Parce que nous payer taxes, nous fait un paquet de bagailles.
Actuellement, ou avec toute femme là, ou avec toute femme on vient voter?
Toute famille n'a voter. Toute famille n'a voter démocrate et ça.
Et tu es ton premier chemin.
Oh, pas un problème.
So we're here with Mrs. Hamilton, who is the warden here at the polling
Ward
location.
18, Precinct 6.
At Ward 18, Precinct 6. And how long have you been the warden here?
Over 25 years.
Oh, that's exciting. And would you say that today was busier than normal?
Definitely the morning part was busier than normal. A lot of people were trying to get into work, so we opened up at 7. And I'd say we had a long line. It was around the corner.
Oh, wow.
And that's very unusual for 7 o'clock.
So how many people have voted so far?
Well, right now, for our precinct, we have 329.
Okay.
And for the other precinct, we have 373. And that's precinct 21 of Ward 18.
Okay, so Ward 18-6 and Ward 18-21.
I hear.
are here. And so that's over 600 votes
Yep,
already.
that's right. And we're inside counting early votes that took place in other locations, previous to this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So then those are then going to be processed as well as votes as well.
Yep, they brought them here. And so we are processing the early votes inside so that when we tally at the end of the night, we'll have a full accounting of the residents in this precinct, both precincts, what the tally is, the total ballots cast.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for all of your hard work and dedication
You're welcome.
with, what is your name?
Jessica Pierre.
So we are here with Jessica Pierre, and you can tell us a little bit about Michelle Wu.
OK. So, nous là aujourd'hui avec Michelle Wu. Michelle Wu, so, c'est un, I don't know how to say city council in Creole. So, c'est un Boston City Council, li là pour cette année. Et puis, qu'on y a la, race là pour
Maire, magistrat.
Mayor.
magistrat Boston. Et puis, nous là, on a parlé avec tout le monde qui a voté. Et puis, on a encouragé le monde pour pas voter aujourd'hui, mais pour participer dans l'élection locale parce que il y a un pile problème que nous gagnons mais et pas président qui solve problème et monde local qui solve problème so c'est important pour monde que yo pas juste voter pour président mais yo voter pour toute l'autre position qui gagne dans Boston tout. So nous là on a parlé avec monde, on a encouragé monde et puis nous souhaitons que results yo sont results que nous pouvons célébrer et puis nous pouvons continuer notre pathway de pays en
As a Haitian descent, comment qu'a encouragé et maman, papa, communauté haïtienne nan déplacer jeudi pour aller voter? Comment qu'a encouragé?
So, si nous entrons dans le pays ça et puis nous citizens américains, nous avons un job pour nous faire, pour nous continuer, pour nous avocat pour qui monde qui là et puis nous pas qu'à sortir en Haïti et puis n'a souffrir et puis nous venons là n'a souffrir toujours nous avons un pile opportunité ici là so et c'est vraiment important que nous faire qui ça nous doit faire et puis nous participer parce que dans pile haïtien especially dans Boston dans pile haïtien là so c'est vraiment important que nous participer et puis nous faire voir nous tout le monde tente voir nous yo connaît nous gain nous avons pouvoir dans le pays. Ça.
Jessica Pierre, Télébel Top Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are here with, can I say legendary? With the legendary, the one and only Michelle Wu, and I guess it's not a rumor anymore, it's official. You are running for mayor.
That's right. Yeah, we're a year out from the election, and so we got to take care of some important business today all across the country, and then focusing on what Boston could be and what we could do together.
And so, obviously, you're going to have a lot of time where people are going to be asking this question, but what are some things that you feel like you would do differently as mayor of the city?
Yeah, I am someone who never expected to be in politics or in government, and everything that I do is driven by wanting to make life better as part of a family, as part of a community. I'm a mom. I have 2 boys who are 3 and 5, and our schools need a lot of attention, a lot of resources. We need to be thinking about how to build a city that is fair, that our kids are going to be able to afford to live in, and that people today aren't going to get pushed out from. So I think a lot during the COVID pandemic has been incredibly tough. The city's come together, but we need to move beyond just band-aids and breadcrumbs and really talk about big picture change.
Well, you have obviously been someone who has been a champion for education, and you have gone to some very prestigious schools, but one of the things that I'm actually most impressed about is the fact that you can speak so many languages. So how many languages can you speak?
So my first language is Mandarin.
Okay.
My parents are immigrants and they were new to the US when I was born, so we didn't speak English at home for a very long time. And then I learned English in school, and I learned Spanish in school. And I speak a tiny bit of French, so I can understand a little bit of, sometimes a little bit of Creole, but I need to practice a lot.
Can you maybe say a few things in French for our Telly Belltop people?
Bonjour,
Je m'appelle Michelle Wu et c'est un plaisir d'être ici avec nous, avec tout le monde que votar.
Très bien.
Merci.
Well, I think that part of what is also exciting is the idea of having language be an asset in our community, because if Boston's going to be an international city, we should really celebrate the fact that we have multiple different types of people that speak different languages.
That's right.
And that could actually be an asset for our schools instead of treating them as though
Second class.
they're second class or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah, for me it's about, why I wanted to learn different languages, what it means to me to be able to, even in my, awful sometimes French or basic Spanish, it's about connection. It's about really trying to meet people where they're at, not just coming out and being in the community, which is important, but connecting over language, over culture, over food, right? So a lot of our policies are around this idea of how do we bring people together and meet every community where they're at.
So one of the things that I'm also excited about is that we have in Mattapan, in Hyde Park, they redid the Mattahunt, which is now the Toussaint Louverture, for early education. But one thing that is not clear is exactly how young schools will start in Boston. Now, I know that they were saying 4, obviously first grade is usually 6. So have you thought about what early education would be like under a Wu administration?
Yeah, we really need to make sure that as soon as parents, people in the city become parents, there's support available. And I think we've seen during this pandemic just what it does to our whole economy when there's no childcare, when schools are not open for kids to have a safe place to go. My boys are 3 and 5 now, and it is incredibly stressful. And I have, I'm in a 2-earner household. We are blessed and privileged, and yet it's in this moment incredibly difficult. So we need to make sure that from 0 to 5, it's not like we're pretending kids don't exist until they magically walk into kindergarten and all of a sudden we can take care of them. BPS itself should start with universal pre-K from age 3, and then even in that 0 to 3 gap, working with our child care providers, our community-based care, home-based centers as well, to ensure that we are giving parents and caretakers the support that they need.
Well, I really like that. And I think part of what has also come to light during the pandemic is how many entrepreneurs and small businesses we have.
That's right.
And obviously you used to be an entrepreneur. And so you also discovered that our MBEs are not getting any more than 1% of $664 million. So you as an entrepreneur, now a city councilor, and then a candidate for mayor, how would you change that under your administration?
Yeah, that's something I've been really proud to be leading the charge on for a while. In 2017, then City Councilor Ayanna Pressley, now of course our amazing Congresswoman, and I teamed up to write the first ordinance to require reporting on that. That's how we even got the data, that it was 0.65% businesses, dollars from the city spent on businesses owned by people of color in Boston. And even during the pandemic, we've asked and finally got the data. Out of $17 million spent, there was one contract that went to a Boston-based business of color, right? Still, even during this emergency spending period. So this is a priority for me. Closing the racial wealth gap means housing and ownership, means making sure our businesses, particularly our MWBEs, are supported, have access to contracting. We can create a city purchasing plan that gives transparency on when these contracts are coming up so businesses can get ready. We can make sure that we are building that connection to the businesses that are already there, right? It's just an excuse and it's not real when people say, oh, we can't find the businesses. They are in our communities, we're just not reaching out to them in a dedicated way. We need to make sure that we are breaking up the contract sizes, so it's not just the big mega companies are the only ones that can bid on things, but that these are really about giving our entrepreneurs, keeping our dollars in the community and building wealth locally.
Well, thank you so much for saying a few words. Obviously, I feel like there's a lot to think about now, but that's always been the case. And I guess to close, one thing I also like about you is you're never reinventing the wheel. And so I remember from when you first ran in city council, you had a plan with different points, like 40 points or something like
50
that.
ideas for
50
Boston.
ideas for Boston.
We finished a lot of them. We got a lot of them done.
So I think that maybe that could be the bucket list. That as
Yeah,
mayor, there's
yeah.
a few more that you want to address.
Absolutely.
But could that be something that you also talk about during your mayoral race? That
Yes.
these are the 50 things you want to do. This is what we've done, and this
Yeah,
is what.
exactly. That's a great idea, and I think it's important to show. In my 7 years on the council, we have done a lot. We have brought people in. We've delivered a lot of change. There's so much more we could do if the platform of the office of mayor were truly a platform for the people and for activism across the city.
Well, I'm always honored to hear your ideas, and you always are for the people. So thank you very much for all that you do for our city.
Thank you, Sam. Great
Have a
to
nice
see you.
day.
Merci Junior, m'apprécie ça. Et son grand rencontre nous faite après-midi, matin là, et pour qu'on vienne encourager le peuple nous, parce que dans cette situation là, si nous ne pas encourager le peuple là, et pas pour nous garder nous-mêmes qui avons papier citoyen pour nous qui avons passeport citoyen dans la poste nous, pour nous connaître nos héros, et nous changer que c'est Israël nous pas égyptiens, c'est Israël nous. Il a mis tout le monde dehors, et il a mis nous tous dehors. Nous sommes contents de dire immigrants, nous tous ces immigrants. C'est pour nous tous rentrer dans le pays à immigrants. C'est aussi bien pour nous aider l'autre qui beaucoup préparer afin que pour capable encore jouer nous retour pour jouer monde capable délivrer tout. C'est même gens que là nous te rentrons dans le pays nous te rentrons immigrants, nous te fait des temps dans le pays nous te protéger. Sur l'autre qui était là avant que aider nous. Mais qu'on y a petite nous, les citoyens dans le pays, ou même nous pas faire, nous supposons aider l'autre. Et nous-mêmes haïtiens, et nous-mêmes nous mettons tête ensemble. Un jour, nous sommes capables de délivrer. Même Jean Israël, t'es quitté l'Égypte, t'es quitté Pharaon, t'es rentré dans la terre promise, et la mer où était ouverte pour eux. Et nous, un jour, la mer où était ouverte pour nous, pour dans la caille. C'est ce que ça me souhaite pour tout haïtien, faire effort pour capable voter. John Biden a fait que pour capable encore démocrate capable de pouvoir encore pour capable pouvoir encore pour haïtien capable de liberté. Merci beaucoup monsieur.
Pasteur, comment est encore pasteur?
Bon, c'est pasteur Paul Romanes. Nous là Boston nous avons 45 ans, nous avons 44 ans dans Boston. Et depuis nous avons milité dans Boston, on a prêché l'évangile et nous avons pile suite nous dans Boston. Bon Dieu toujours protéger nous. L'église nous en 65 Ashton Street, Dorchester. Et actuellement, le Seigneur prend nous, transformer nous, niveau nous du côté d'Haïti pour nous travailler. Nous avons des tabernacles et bon Dieu bon nous en Haïti. Et nous besoin de prier. Et nous pour nous à Haïti, afin que pour nous aller des peuples tout. Okay? C'est comme ça notre travail. Merci beaucoup.
Bon, on a salué la communauté Boston, ainsi que Télébel Top, qui font un travail inexplicable dans la communauté, nous apprécions. Matin, c'est un plaisir pour nous capables d'encourager la communauté, surtout, et qui vivent Boston, High Park, Matapen, dans l'environnement, pour capable d'encourager et travailler ça qu'a fait avec Télébel Top. Nous encourageons tout aussi bien pour être capable de coller les gens qui ont une opportunité, qui ont déjà saisi l'opportunité, qui ont une citoyenneté américaine, qui ont le droit pour voter et pour être capable de faire des voix et venir voter et puis choisir, pas voter avec cœur, pas voter avec cœur parce qu'on a un monde, ni bel garçon, et puis vous votez, mais voter pour un programme où vous sentez que vous retrouvez avec leader communauté. Il y a un paquet de leaders dans la communauté à tout, qui a infiltré nous, qui a encadré la communauté pour être capable de faire un choix. Mais pas imposer, mais pour faire un choix capable utile demain si vous avez petits famille. Parce que c'est important pour nous. Je dis, si nous ne pas voter, il y a voté pour nous. Si nous ne pas parler, il y a parlé pour nous. Mais ça, nous allons crier, nous allons remettre ça. Donc, nous gagner, nous profiter de l'occasion. Donc, pour nous faire, pour nous voter, pour nous encourager et nous dans la communauté à réclamer droit. Merci encore, Télébel Top. C'est un plaisir. Matin, nous sommes avec vous, pas ici, non pas moi, c'est Sergo. Nous disons merci.
why is this election so important to you?
Why is it important? Well, I mean, there's just way too much stuff going on, and we just need a person that's in office that's going to support the people. To me, it's not about a color; it's about the people. You know, if your issue is to talk about the next person, opponent, and you don't have nothing on the issues, what are we going to do? So the importance is just to, you know, do something and do right by the country in my eyes.
No, I like that. And obviously, you're with the Teamsters, so you're a union guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know the Teamsters 25 is over in Charlestown. Where's 122?
In South Boston.
South Boston?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, where in South Boston?
I don't know the name of the street actually, but it's right off the main street in South.
So, right off Broadway?
Yes.
Now,
might even be on Broadway.
Now, is 122, is that like the UPS?
They might be a part of us, but I know Coca-Cola and Pepsi and them are a part of it.
Okay. And so obviously the Teamsters have a lot of history, a lot of stuff with politics, you know, from Hoffa's and the Kennedys, and the names go back. Why did you join the Teamsters, and why do you feel like voting is so important?
My job.
Okay.
I feel it's important because, you know, our ancestors fought to get us the right to do this because they didn't want to give it to us. So, you know, if they can fight for us, why can't I do something as simple as fight is to vote? You know, it's just if Martin Luther King and what's the name, all the civil rights, Malcolm X, civil rights unit, Harriet Tubman,
Shirley Chisholm,
all of them, they fought for this, and why not do it in honor of them? You know what I mean? So if they fought to get us the right, why not exercise the right? You know
absolutely.
I mean?
So now, are you going to be voting every election now?
Every one, since I turned 18.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm not going to hold you up.
Thank you. I
have a
appreciate
nice
it,
day,
man. You
sir.
do the same. Thank you.
Right now, there's 376 votes. You're an election official, but you're also a community leader.
Yeah, so far we have a high turnout in this location today compared to the past 2 years that I've been working here. So by 7 o'clock, we had like a long line from the parking lot into the hallway, and it went up to like 20, 30 people on the line. And then after that, it kind of like slowed down a little bit, but it's picking up again now. So we've been getting at least 50 people in the room at one time, and the turnout is really, really high. So we expected that we're gonna get about 800 to 1,000 votes in this location, which is like more than what we have, 2 times more than what we have last year. So far we cannot determine whether who is voting for who, but we just know that the turnout is high.
So is this usually the total turnout for the whole day? Or how many people usually come in?
This is like for the primary, this is like 3/4 of what we had for the day of the primary. So this is kind of like double, and with expecting that it's going to double by maybe 8 o'clock in the evening.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah,
Very
that's
exciting.
That is really exciting.
So
It's a high record.
We are here live at the Tucson Louverture Academy at the Matterhunt, and we are trying to find out voters' intentions. A lot of people wanted to miss the line and they voted early, but as you can see, right now not so many people are here, and everyone is social distancing. People are excited to vote, and so we want to encourage that to happen.
I'm tired of the current president and his nonsense, and just like his racism and ignorance, and I just don't want to see another 4 years of that. So that's why I voted today.
Now, are you in college currently?
Yeah.
So how does it make you? Is this your first election?
No.
So you voted for a president before this?
Yeah.
And how did it feel to cast your vote this time?
I think that this time the significance weighed in more. Like the importance of casting the vote this year was more critical for me. So I had to make sure I got here on time just to be able to give the vote, because like I said, I just don't want another 4 years of what I've already gone through. It's been horrible.
What are some things you'd like to see change here in Boston specifically? Are there some things you'd like to see change in the community?
I'd like to see more communication between the city and the community. I feel like sometimes there's a lot of things happening in the area, and it's like I'm not even aware of these changes or the boards that are making these changes. So going forward, I mean, I'd like to have like more open communication.
More transparency?
More transparency between the residents living in Boston and whoever's on the board to enforce these new rules and regulations, so on, or policies.
Well, thank you very much. And did you have a message for other young people who haven't voted yet today?
Yeah, definitely. I encourage all young people, old people, all people, no matter the color, the age, sex, to please come out and vote, because the vote does matter. Regardless of what that vote is, it's important to exercise your right to vote.
I see you got your sticker. You voted. It's official.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping by and saying a few words for us.
Thank you for having me.
Have a nice day.
You too.
The warden here at the Kenny School, and I'm very.
And you've worked here
and I
a
used
lot.
to work here.
Yeah, a lot.
I'm very excited about talking to you. And how is this election different than the previous elections, other than the fact that we're both wearing masks?
I know. Well, it's not the very first time they've done the early voting, but it's probably about 5 times more ballots that we've seen than we ever have for early voting. So even with the primary or the presidential 4 years ago, so a lot of people took advantage of it, which was really great. But we're still seeing a lot of people come in as well. So we're almost at 1,000. We've already beaten the number from 4 years ago.
Really?
We've had more people vote, yeah.
So this is history then,
Yeah,
in the making.
yeah.
We've got more people voting than ever before.
Than ever before at this polling location, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And it's not even 2 o'clock.
It's not even 2 o'clock, right? Isn't that great?
That's amazing.
You know at the end of the night when you're
I know.
when you're balancing the books and you look and see how many checks, it would be easier to check how many people didn't come in and vote. There's that many people that have voted, so
Wow.
it's exciting.
It is
It's very
exciting.
nice.
So one thing that I'm excited, and I can actually say I learned from you, is that early voting actually is very similar, at least from the election workers' perspective, as absentee balloting.
Yes, that's right.
But a lot of people don't know that. And the reason I mention that is because Senator Markey mentioned that not everywhere in the country do they actually allow people to count early voting or even absentee voting until the polls close. But here in Massachusetts, it's a little bit different. So I was wondering maybe you could explain that. Like you can actually count some of those ballots.
Well, we know how many there are,
Right.
but they do go to the polling location. So anybody that early voted in this precinct, their ballot showed up today with all the blank ballots that we're going to process. So anybody from our precinct that early voted or is voting today, their ballot went through the machine today. So we actually processed it today. We know how many. There were 403, I think, early votes. So we knew that. We know whose they are. They keep track of all that. But it actually gets totaled with everybody else's. So everybody from 16-9, it's all going to be on the same tape.
And just to explain a little further, so you don't have to wait until the polls close to count those people. You've been doing that throughout the day.
Throughout the day. Yep, they have to process them throughout the day. And if we didn't have them all processed by 8 o'clock, we'd actually, whatever the end of the line was, that's the last person that can come in and vote. But we can't shut the machine down and total it until we've processed every single one of those ballots.
Now, how is that different than some other places? Because is that true throughout Massachusetts? Is that just Boston?
I don't know how the other communities do it, but that's how Boston does it. We process everything that we get today. We process
And I was just going to ask, how long have you been doing this? Because obviously you are one of the most knowledgeable wardens, which is why
Thank you.
I'm very happy.
I'm sure there's probably some of them that are more knowledgeable, but I think it's been about 12 years. Yeah.
Oh, so it's
And
very
I'd say at
exciting.
least half of them you worked with me.
seems
I
like
think
it.
it was at least 6 years we worked together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I definitely look forward to hopefully coming back. But part of what I wanted to show is actually what goes on when people are voting. This is a very exciting time. but also wait until the afternoon because I knew that the morning was going to be crazy, so I didn't want to be.
Yeah,
a
we can't,
distraction.
so we can't vote, unless you're actually voting, you can't go past the check-in or the checkout. But basically, you know, they come in and they check in. The city does it by street because that's how they figure out the precincts. So you give them your street name, and then you give them your name. And they verify it. There's some people that do have to show an ID because they might not have done that before when they registered. So they do verify there. They get their ballot, and new to us, we give them the pen then as well. Before we used to leave them in the booth, but we want to make sure everybody gets a fresh pen. So we give them a pen and a ballot. And they go, they fill out whatever races they want to, and they bring both of those to the police officer, and then they check out. They give their address again and their name.
And they can keep the pen.
They can't keep the pen.
Oh, they
we
can't?
have them leave the pen, and then we actually have been
sanitize
sanitizing them and bring, because we don't have that many pens, unfortunately. So, but we do give them the I voted sticker. So
There
they
you
get
go.
that.
They get the sticker.
Yeah.
Kids
so
still
you
get
put
candy.
it in. We haven't been doing the candy because we can't be sure that people aren't, you know, picking and
Right,
processing.
picking and stuff, rummaging through.
Yeah.
So-
But
so
one thing that
small
happens when we
changes.
start the machine, we run a tape, and it's down near the exit. We run a tape and it shows all the zeros. So we have to run a zero report to show, okay,
no one
nothing's
voted.
been, right, nobody's voted, nothing's happened. And so we get a tape that has all zeros, and then at the end of the night, the machine runs it, and it gives us all our totals, so you can compare. It was 0 at the beginning, and now there were this many ballots cast. So,
Well, I always feel as if I know a little bit more every time I talk to you. So I have to tell you that that's always been
well,
true.
good, I'm glad.
And so I just want to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to have to find a time to sit down and have some lunch with you some other time.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
blessings to you.
Yes,
Thank you so
yes, it
much.
was good seeing you.
Absolutely. So are you excited about early voting? Like, what has your experience been? Obviously, there's not a long line.
I'm more of one of tradition. I think that you vote the day that you have, and you know, early election wasn't something that excited me. So
why did you choose to vote on election day itself instead of early election?
more tradition.
Tradition.
Yeah, something we should look forward to, and it's a day that a lot of countries don't have the ability that we have.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and you have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you. Good luck, guys.
In front of the Pierce House, which historically has been the center in between two of the most popular voting precincts in Boston, 16-8 and 16-9. 16-8 is the Adams Library, which is right there, where I used to vote with Dan Cullinane and U.S. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley before she moved. 16-9, which is right behind us, is the Thomas Kennedy School, which we just left. Not every country has the ability to vote for its leadership. And so that is so important, and that's what ties us together, no matter what complexion we are, no matter what ethnicity. We must make sure that we vote this election. And so, as you can see, part of the reason why I'm here at the Pierce House is because we are standing at a moment in history like never before. This election is probably the most important election that I've ever been in. And so thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good evening.